slash afternoon. I'm doing the devotion today, and I really just feel that I should be sharing some things that God has been revealing to me recently. So specifically since we've gone into lockdown mode, and so there's about 5 words that God has really been speaking to me specifically about. There are definitely things that I have been needing to deal with. So it's been a lot of soul surgery, and it's been rough. But I really hope that this will be a blessing to you, and that'll encourage you. So I'll share the 5 words, and then I'll expand on that. So the words are wholeheartedly, security, revival, peace, and home. And as I was reading or thinking about this at least last night, I had written them down in that order and then read them up. So and I found that they were kind of like a story that I can share. So the first word would be home, and it's something that I've been pondering. What is home? What does that mean? Is it a physical building? Is it people? Is it the friends that I don't get to see right now? But I was really just reminded that it can be, or it should be, a place of peace, but it can also be a person of peace. So reading through Psalm 37 verse 37, I've really been loving the Psalms lately, and yeah, they're just really beautiful, especially, and encouraging for this time. So verse 37 says, "Watch the blameless and observe the upright, for the person of peace will have a future." And that's just a comfort for me. Am I being a person of peace? What does that mean to be a person of peace? I think also just a reminder that a person of peace doesn't necessarily need to be someone who is a believer, but it can be someone who's seeking. And I think that's kind of the key word here, to be seeking. So are you a person of peace? Am I a person of peace? Are we seeking? So home is being a person of peace, or having a person of peace around you. But it's also, home is also a place where revival can happen. So as TK spoke about on Sunday during his sermon, just speaking about revival, and I always imagined revival to be tense and all the stuff, but God's really been speaking to me about revival for the last couple months, and it's been really pressing on my heart. But again, I've been like, okay, revival. I'm thinking about, I think it's the Hebridean Islands in Scotland, and then the Toronto blessing, where like the whole place, the whole town, the whole country is just overcome by the Holy Spirit and just moved, and people are confessing sins and all these things, and it's just beautiful. And I'm like, God, like how great would that be for Swaziland? We're a small country, so like, come Holy Spirit, and like just take us over. And but then, as TK shared on Sunday, it's more of a heart thing. And so I googled the definition of revival, and I'll just read it to you. There were a couple that really stood out to me. So revival is an improvement in the condition or strength of something. It's a restoration to bodily or mental vigor, to life or consciousness. I thought that was really cool. That was to consciousness. So with that, I was reminded of a story from written by Lauren Cunningham. It's his life story called "Is That Really You, God?" He is the founder of Youth with a Mission, and in one of the chapters he speaks about how him and some friends had planned a week of evangelism in I think it was Adelaide, Australia, and they were really pumped, and they had done all this planning, and then God said to him that he needs to go and sit in a room by himself and fast and pray for 7 days. The 7 days that they had planned to do the evangelism. And he was like, what? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, is that really you, God? And, and he was like, but, we planned all these things. And so, like, I feel like I have to be there. Otherwise, it's not going to be fair on my friends. And God was just like, listen, you need to go and do what I told you to do. So he went, and nothing really eventful happened the first couple days. But then on the third day, God was like, oh, do you remember this time? These are the people that you haven't forgiven. These are the things that blah, 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 blah. And so I really feel like that was his revival. That was his soul revival. And I think it's important that especially during this time, we are open to something like that. We're all stuck in our homes, and which are hopefully a safe place. Maybe for some it isn't a safe place, but I think God is concerned about us. I think he's concerned about our hearts and our minds, and he wants us to be revived. And so, are we giving God the space to revive us, to revive our consciousness, and to perform a deep and specific surgery on us, on me, on you, on your neighbor, your brother, sister, cousin? That brings me to my next verse in Psalm 37 verse 3, which says, trust in the Lord and do what is good, dwell in the land and live securely. In the footnotes, I'm reading from the Holman Christian Standard Version, and in the footnotes it says, instead of live securely, it says cultivate faithfulness. And in the ESV translation, it says to befriend faithfulness. And that's that's a little different to how it would have translated to live securely. But to cultivate faithfulness, what does that mean? So if we look at the word cultivate, that kind of means to put in the work. So trust in the Lord, do what is good, dwell in the land, and work towards faithfulness. So we really have to work for it. It's not just, God isn't just gonna like drop his faith, like his goodness in our lap. We have to seek him, and we have to hear his voice, and we have to really desire what he desires, and wholeheartedly, which is the last word. What are we doing wholeheartedly during this time? Are we wholeheartedly spending time with the Lord, or are we kind of doing it, like a couple minutes here and there, and then, with breaks in between, but we're still reading the word and we're still kind of praying, but like, is that wholehearted? Are we still doing that? I mean, that's not a bad thing. Like, you can break it up, that's fine. But are you doing it wholeheartedly? And are we cultivating our time with God? A friend of mine just recently asked me a couple of days ago, what has God been saying to you this week? And I don't think that we ask each other that question enough. It's kind of a scary question, because we're like, oh, like I haven't been hearing from God, God's been really quiet, or maybe we just haven't been listening all that well. So I want to give you that question. What is God saying to you? Is he speaking to you about home? Is he speaking to you about safety? Is he speaking to you about seeking him wholeheartedly? Are you allowing him to do the work in your heart so that you can be a better person by the time we come out of this? Or just in general? I think I'm just going to leave that with you. I genuinely want to know what God is saying to you. So if you want to just private message me, then I'd love to hear that. And if you want to leave comments underneath, I think it's helpful for all of us to know hear and see what God has been doing to those around us, especially when we're feeling discouraged. I definitely have not been feeling very encouraged, but I love hearing stories about what other people have been experiencing and how they've been experiencing God. And I think sometimes that with things like that, it can help us realize that we have actually been hearing God. We've just not necessarily recognized it as God. So yeah, I want to know what God's been saying to you, and hopefully we can encourage one another. I hope that something here has encouraged you. Yeah, so bless you guys, and hopefully hear from you soon.